Hey everybody, this is Jeff with the Embroidery Nerd, and hopefully everything's going good here. Um, I've learned two things. 5 minutes might be a little bit too long for a countdown timer, and the live stream is about 8 seconds behind what I actually see on my screen. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Had a request to digitize this deer, so we'll go ahead and get with the specifics here. Right now it's about 4 inches tall, just about 3 inches wide. I've sized it already to the size that I'm going to be digitizing it. It is a vector, which is kind of nice, but I'm going to be manually digitizing it so that you guys can see the steps. And we'll just go ahead and go from there. I'm going to start, I believe, right here on the neck, and then move up, possibly do an ear, another ear, maybe this tuft, and then come down and do the face. So if you guys do have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Again, this is about 8 seconds delay from when I'll actually see your comment to reply. So just keep that in mind when you do ask your questions. I might not answer them right away, and that's the reason why. So I believe everybody can hear me. I've got all my stuff turned on. We should be good. So we'll go ahead and zoom in here. I'm at 238 scale. I'm going to turn that to 600% scale. And I'll come down just a little bit, and I'll look at this here. So I wanted to digitize it so that the fur kind of comes down towards the center, and I have two different ways I can digitize this. I can make it as one giant object and just bring all the fur straight down, or I can make it as two and kind of bring them to where they'll intersect. And I think I'm actually going to do the latter and break it into two and have them intersect here. So let me just check with the art one more time. I want to make sure that I do have it centered so that when I look at my 0, 0, I know that I'm splitting down the middle. And let me select all that, and I'm going to lock it. I know the shortcut key, which is K, and that'll lock the art for me. So let's go ahead and get digitizing here. I'm going to do a closed complex fill shape. I'm going to start kind of in the middle, and I'm going to bring my stitches in this kind of direction. So I do want to exaggerate my shape just a touch. And we'll come up and start going around. And we'll come a little bit wider. I think I'm going to hit backspace to delete my last point. We'll come down. And I'm going to start cutting in right here. And if the beeping's too loud or annoying, let me know. I think I can shut it off. So we'll go ahead and close the object, and now I have that one. And Matt says that my beeping's too annoying to shut it off. So we'll take that out. Now you guys shouldn't hear it. I use the beeps. I can tell which key, which click I'm doing based off of the beeps and the bops, I guess is what I'm going to call them. We'll name them that today. So now they're turned off, but I'm going to change my stitch angle here to a complementary stitch angle about like that. I'm actually thinking I'm going to add a little Florentine effect. So my stitches will have a little bit of a curve to them, a curved fill, because we are doing kind of a cylindrical neck. We'll go there, and then Wilcom just recently came out with this. It's called the hand stitch effect. It's pretty good for simulating fur. Yeah. Let's go ahead and I'm going to copy it and paste it, and I'm going to flip it across the x-axis here and move this over. And I do have them overlapping just a little bit here in the center, like that. That kind of starts to define that shape. Which I'm actually thinking now I should just do it as one shape. Shh, don't tell Matt. But we can go ahead and see how that'll look. So we'll select those and move them out of the way. And let's go ahead and do one shape. So as many of you probably guessed, or maybe we're not playing along at home, but Jerry Lee's not going to be going live today. So I stepped in to do this. And honestly, I couldn't think of a subject. So I just decided that I was going to digitize it as a design live. And we'll go ahead and end that there, and let's add the Florentine effect again. There we go, add the Florentine effect. So now we have a curve, fill, and we can come up each side a little bit here. And that is a little too much. So we'll soften that up. Right there, we'll add the hand stitch effect to give it kind of a rough look. And we'll set that. Let's look at our, go out of our effects tab, we'll look at our fill. We're at a 0.4 density. Underlay is edge run tatami. I'm going to drop this into, I'm going to leave the edge run and I'm going to put a double tatami underneath it. So that gives us kind of the bottom section here. Let's take a look at our start and our stop points. We're starting right here. We're stopping up there. I'll move it over to there. It'll recalculate the stitch points. And now I can go ahead and move on. So I'm going to chain this all together because I don't need several different objects. And we'll come there. We'll drop over to this complex fill again, and we'll come around. And I can come a little bit further. When I go in to do the face, it's going to take a little bit more. Yep, don't know what I was talking about there. Just brain farted. And you got to see it live. Don't say I never give you guys any gems. There we go. So one cool trick that I do all the time when I'm working on symmetrical objects is I'll do something like this, and I'll come around, and yep, I have Florentine effect active. That's why it's being all weird and wonky. And I drew a line. Let's get rid of that. And third time's a charm. I'm actually just going to do a run stitch right here. We'll come around. To right there. Hit enter. Now we have that. I can copy and paste it, and I can flip it along the x-axis and line up my start and stop points. Right there. And now I'm going to select both halves and I'll weld it. And now I can fill it with a tatami fill. That's not a tatami fill. That's a tatami fill. And let's go ahead and do a Florentine effect on it. Let's go in here, hit H. And it doesn't want to show me my stitch angle, which is always nice. Right there. It really hid that one in there. There we go. I'll take that. Bring that up. Do kind of the same right there. Soften up that edge. And it gives us a little crown. And now let's go ahead and do the hand stitch effect on there. Not a huge fan of that right now. So let's undo that. And I'm going to go ahead and delete it. I've still got my original object underneath, so I can weld that again. It'll put the object on top. We'll tatami fill it. And we'll just set a vertical fill right there. And we'll throw on the hand stitch. And that should give us a nice effect from there. Why wouldn't you do all the brown on the head and then use the border to break it up? I could do that. Really the reason why I'm not going to do the brown on the entire head is because I want to use the hand stitch effect, which I could duplicate using randomization on my stitch points. So I essentially want different fills for the different areas, and I could do the entire thing as one big brown blob, I guess, and then come around and do all the detail underneath it, but I'd prefer to break it up. So that's why I don't do it that way. When I weld them, it does retain the style. So underneath here, let me pull this off to the side. So when I weld it, you can see that I still have my two original run stitches. So it just puts it on top, it creates a new object and puts it on top. So I'm going to back that back in, and now I can delete these two objects, and so now I only have the one object there. I am going to check my start and my stop points because that's something that's pretty important. So you can see that my start point for this is not where I want it to be. It's down here. I'm going to set that there. I was talking about the first main you did. Okay. So the first main I did, down here. It does retain the style. So I have these two down here. I'm with you now. I can take both of those and I can weld it, and it's going to create a new object, and it's going to apply a base fill to it. So it puts the fill round, and so I have to set the fill separately, which is not that node. But that's what that does, and if I have trouble finding it, I can always pull it down and then it'll reset on me. But that is what happens when you weld those two objects, and if I take them over, you can see I still retain the two original objects here, and they welded it there. So that's what happens if I weld it that way. Okay, back to the deer. So I'm ending on this side. That means I'm going to come around this way. I want to have a curve coming across the face this way to define the bridge of the nose, and then a curve coming behind the eyes roughly this direction. So to get that, I'm going to need to digitize these as separate objects. Come around there. There, down, and across right there. So we have that. Now I'm going to add my fill, which I do want to do another curved fill with Florentine effect. And let's find my stitch angle. This always drives me nuts when I can't find my stitch angle. So I do want that over there. And I will want to end down here. We'll make sure that I'm starting in the right spot that I want to. And now to find my stitch angle, which I can't seem to see. There it is. So I'll bring that about there, and I'll come around kind of this direction. And now I'm going to copy it and paste it, and I'm going to flip it across the x-axis, because there's no reason to do this more than once. And I do want a little bit more of an overlap right there, so I'm going to edit the object, and I'm going to bring these 2 points a little bit further over, and I'll do the same with this object to give them a little bit more of an overlap. So now you can see I'm ending down here on both objects. So I need to change my start point for this object to bring it down to where that one ends. So now it's chained together. I'm going to go back to my run stitch here. And we'll turn on our trim so I can see them. That one goes there. And then this should start roughly at the same spot. but it's kind of acting up, so I'm going to delete that point, and that's going to move my start point to there, right on the edge of the fill, and I can move that there to match up to it. So now I'm going to come over the bridge of the nose and come down. I am using Wilcom E4 Designing. That is the software that I'm currently using. I've got, I don't know, 3 different ones open at the moment, but this is the one that I'm digitizing in, is E4. And I'm going to come around here. There, make sure I cover. And there we go. We'll go back to our stitch angle, and I do want to do the Florentine effect again. Now I got to find my stitch angle, which is, for some reason, they put it up here, which is kind of odd. We'll grab all but one of those points and delete them. We'll bring that down. There we go. Bring it down a little bit more. Give it a lot more of a curve here. And it didn't like that too much curve. Alright, there we go. Let's make sure I'm ending there, and I'm starting this object there so that it chains together. And we'll make sure that I'm covering there, which everything looks like I am. So we can go ahead and run the start to run the outline and the satins in detail on the face. So I think that I'm actually going to start that right where are we ending? We're ending right there. I guess we could change it all to a brown too. A little darker color. There we go. So I think I'm going to start right here and kind of work my way around. Let's grab our satin tool. And I'm going to make sure that I leave enough room for me to come back in and kind of blend it on this edge. So one of the nice things about digitizing, well, especially this art, is that a lot of times you guys won't actually see the art. So if I miss on some of my points, it's not that big of a deal. But we'll run up here. And we'll chisel that point off just a little bit there. And we'll come around this. Right there. And one thing that I need to do that I didn't do before is I need to change this to metric so that I know what size of stitches I'm putting in. And I need to change that to a satin, change that to a satin, and now I need to make sure that I have, when I do my digitized blocks, that I have satin selected. So I'm actually going to flip this along the x-axis and just copy it right there. And I am going to put a short little run in between them. And I hit the wrong button on my keyboard. Move that one up. That one ends there. That one comes over, starts there, ends there. And now I'll run down and do this side. I'm going to come in just a little bit more. We'll flip that along the x-axis as well. Now you can see that the art isn't perfectly symmetrical. Well, yeah, it is. My lines aren't perfectly symmetrical, but that's okay. So let's hit the start point there. Make sure that we're starting over here at the end of our last point. And now I'm going to come down the center. Now I am zoomed in quite a bit, so I'm keeping an eye on my scale, and I'm really watching the width of my stitches when I come down to make sure that I'm not making columns that are too narrow. We're going to overlap that a little bit, and we'll start here and come back around. Come down a little bit further there. And so now we're starting to define the face. And I'm going to come right about here and go around. Well, I'm actually going to come this way. So I'll come in here and I'll exaggerate that point just a little bit because it'll close off when it digitizes it, or when it pulls in. And now I'm going to start coming this way. And I have two ways that I can handle these little points. I think what I'm going to do is handle them this way. I'm going to come out a little bit to make them wider. And we'll come around. Let me make sure. So far I've got all the comments. If I've missed some, let me know. And what I'm accomplishing by putting these satins kind of right up next to each other like this, I'm ending here and I'm going to come out and I'm going to do a satin there, and they are going to overlap just a little bit, so then I can chain all my start and my stop points together, which is going to allow it to run without stopping. So we'll go there. And we'll come out and around. Yep, it is. It is Wilcom E4.5. I think is what version they're on now. And we will. So now that I've done that half, I can come up to too far, roughly there, and I can duplicate, paste, and I can flip it across the x-axis here. And then that way I'm not digitizing all the way around again, which is going to save us some time. I do need to come back and fix that stitch angle because I don't like the way it's sitting. But we'll get to that here in just a little bit. I am going to need to reverse the order of these so that it stitches and goes all the way around. So I'm actually going to do that right now. I'm going to make sure that everything is tied together. So I can do that. I'm checking my start and my stop point. Start and stop point. Start and stop point comes there. Start and stop point comes across. Start and stop point. I need to bring my start point right there. And now I'm coming across there. So I need to make sure that my start point is right there. Now my start point connects there. You can see that it doesn't connect here, so I need to bring it over so it does. And that'll cover. Move my start point there, my stop point there. My stop point I'm going to move to this side, and I'll move my start point right there. So a lot of people will turn on closest join. I don't use that very much. I've had bad luck with it adding trims in every time I digitize something, which is kind of a pain when you go through and you digitize it and it adds a trim. I'm not a huge fan of that. So I actually have it turned off, which requires a little bit more work when I'm pathing. So let's go here and we'll select it. So that's number 50. So this one needs to be there. That one goes to the 2 spot. That one goes to the 3 spot. I'm sure there's a faster way than I'm doing it. So there we go. We'll swap my start and stop points. There. Start point, stop point. Start point, stop point. And we'll move through the list here. And it looks like I got a little out of order, which is fine. There, and then there. And we don't want to jump all the way up there yet. We want 58, up a couple. And it looks like I went up one too many. There. So let's bring our stop point there. And now we can pull our start point down. There, stop point up here. And I'm still a little out of order here. And let's go down there. Check my order. So those two I want to go up one. And that one I actually want to go in between those two. There we go. And we'll bring my start point over, stop point there. Start point over, stop point up. Whoop, move my start point again. And there we we go. We're going to do this piece, and we'll start and we'll stop there. And that will take out my trims. So it'll start sewing over here, and it'll come around and stitch all the way around. I do have a couple of random trims in here, so we'll address those like that. And whoop, wrong design. Bring that over. We'll set that one right there. And we'll grab our stop point and move it right there. And now that one comes there on that stop point. And we'll come through and join them here. There we go. And that's the start point for that big chest. And we'll come up here and we can see where we're stopped right here. So let me spin back over to the comments. Yeah, I've had a little bit of practice. I digitize a lot of designs. But practice is what makes us perfect. So I'm not perfect by any means, but I do have a lot of practice. I'm going to come this way, and we're going to come up here to the point. We'll switch back to our satin tool, and I'm going to start coming out and around. And I'm actually going to stop it right there and do this point. Bounce the satin out here, and we'll overlap just a touch. And now we can start going around the eye. So I think I'm going to come around the outside that way. We'll do that, and then we'll come right back here and come around the outside this way. And I'm going to come out into this satin here. And I might come back in and put down those white little specks first, a little later. So now that we have that all connected, we can start moving up. There, and I'm going to overlap these satins just a little bit right here and come out and around the tip of the ear. I need to spend more time learning all the fancy tools that I have available in Wilcom, but I haven't been forced to yet. So I just kind of use the different pieces that I'm used to and go from there. So I'm actually going to angle that back in, and we're going to come around right here. I'll do the antlers last. Over just a little bit. Again, I'm zoomed in a lot, but I'm watching the width of my satin stitches to make sure that they don't go too narrow. Jump out there, and we'll come around here. I'm going to cut that a little shorter. And come around here. Sorry if I'm not as talkative as I usually am. I typically plan this stuff out ahead of time, but I did not plan this out today. So we'll go ahead and stop that right there, and I'm going to grab my run stitch, and I'm going to come down here. Back over to my satin tool. And now I can go back to my blocks. Overlap just a little bit. And now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to overlap here. And that should end me right there. So now I can go around the outside edge of this ear, which I'll start right here. About 1.8 right there. Getting a little bit wider. I'm going to start turning my corner here. And I'll start turning to come this way. And we'll come around. To right there. Right there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to copy all of my eye objects over here. So I believe I started with this one. So we'll find that. And I ran up there from there. So we'll just copy all of those, paste them, flip them on the x-axis, and bring it over here. This run, which is number 83, was 83, I can duplicate that from here. And go there. And move that up to, I believe it was 83. Then 84, yep. And so now we're back here. We'll go ahead and come around here. And blend it right there. So that's the majority of the head. I'm going to digitize the antlers so that they go over the top. Yep, so that they're going to sit on top, and then we'll come down here and we'll fix this. I want to do the antlers in a white color, so I'm going to go ahead and change to the white. And I'll go ahead and start right here. And we will come up. We can see that that antler is tucked under this one. So I'm going to come around here. And I'm going to start right there. So we'll make sure I'm going at least, close to 1 millimeter wide. Because it is going to open up a bit right here. Come there. Come across. And we'll come down here. I'm going to bring it this direction and cut it back. Right there. And now I can run down here. Spiker point. Let's go with points. And I'm going to come to right there, and I'm going to drop down and run up here. And we'll come down this point. Make sure I'm adjusting my stitch angle so that it matches parallel to the longest point. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bridge them over just a little bit. We'll come here. And we'll come to this spike. Is the term that I will use for this one. Just like that. This one I want to be parallel, perpendicular. I don't remember the word now. I blame Matt. Just in case if any of you were wondering. Alright, and we're going to turn this so that we meet up right there. And now we have our next antler. So let's go ahead and we're going to adjust this here really quick, the angle that we've got of our curvature, so that it looks a little bit more natural. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit, and I like that. And now it's just a matter of, I'm going to duplicate this side and bring it over. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I've got my pathing so that there aren't any jumps and trims, because right now there are. So we run up there. We got our start and our stop point. We got our start and our stop point. Start and stop, start and stop. And we need to bring our start point down to here. And then we have our stop point there. And then we run up to there. And we have our stop point right here. We'll move that to there, move this over to there. And we can move our stop point from this side to this side. And bring our start and stop points here. And that'll bring us down there. And so now it's all branched together so that it has one tie-in. And it'll do all of that in one go. So let's copy it and paste it, and we will flip it along the x-axis. I'm going to bring back the art here, and we will line that up right there. And I missed that one little piece when I brought it over, so we'll move him to right there. So now that should all be covered. Let's make sure that we don't have a trim right there, and we don't. And now most of the trims and jumps that are left inside of the border here. So I will jump back up and I will start here. I'm going to take away the stitches so that I can see. As we come around and make sure that all my points are correct. We don't have a problem. We come up here. To there. We'll put my endpoint right there. Start and end point for the next object is right there. And then we're running up. We end there. We start there, go there. We need to bring our endpoint in there. Our start point over here. And we end there. So we need to start over here and end over there. And now we'll come up, we go around, we run down, we come there, and we end over here. Start and stop, start and stop. We run over to here. And we need to put our start point up here. Actually, I had my start point where I needed it. So let's go there. So there, run down, end there. Bring that there, bring that there. Start there. I want to stop on this side. Start there, go around the ear, and there. Run up, start there, and there. Start there and there, run in. And now we're into the antlers. So I do see that I still have a few jumps and trims in there that I don't want. I've got these up here for the antlers. Let's go ahead and watch it slow redraw. Let me get rid of this. And we'll come up. And go around. And do the antlers. I am going to add in here right after the brown, before I go into the green, I'm going to add a couple of eyes here that I'll come around and outline after the fact. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start there. Make sure that my eyes are big enough. There. And now copy it and paste it. And I'm going to move it over there, but I forgot to flip it along the x-axis, and I can take those two objects and I can run them up a few objects. There, that'll give us those eyes. I do like that. And that adds a couple more trims in there. So I'll go through here and I'll get rid of some of the other trims and jumps by joining some of the objects here. Let me go ahead and let's get a better color here. So I've got a light brown, which it looks like that's the color I have. And we'll go with oak there to give that a little bit more texture on the body. I am going to take the two satins here that are clear, and I'm going to make them have a jagged edge. And I think I'm going to go with both sides. And we'll do a 2mm range there. So that is how I would digitize a deer head. And then it would go, I'll go through and I'll remove some of the start and stop points. We can go ahead and watch it play here while I ramble on, because I'm really good at that. So this is how I would digitize it. You can split it up and define it more if you wanted to. This is how I would do it. And now what I'm really watching for while this slow redraws, I'll tell you what I'm looking for. What I'm watching for is for that little line to make a tie-off point. So when you're running a slow redraw, you can see the tie-off points when it goes to do a lock stitch. And so sometimes if I can't tell which layer the trim is in, I'll do a slow redraw and I'll watch for it to do that little lock stitch. And then that kind of gives me an indication of where it's at. So part of this I'm doing because I want you guys to see the slow redraw, but also I'm watching for it to do a lock stitch in places that I don't want it to do those. Either a tie out or a tie in that I don't want it to do, and that's what I'm looking for as it goes through. And there it finishes up. So a couple things I might do. I might take this whole section and move it up and actually have the antler go underneath the ear. I can do that. I do that for a couple of reasons. One is it takes away a color change, and also it puts the antlers behind this part of the head. As I was watching that slow redraw, I was debating where we should see the attach point here. And what I will do is I'm actually going to go and I'm going to reference some online images of actual deer to see where in a real life picture this would terminate. And I'm going to adjust the digitizing of this area right here so that it ties off, so that we have that layered look like it should be in real life. I know this isn't a real life graphic, but it's something that I will play with. You know, and I could come in here too and right here on the nose, because this is all just a dark brown in the art. Let me go ahead and hide all that. It is just a dark brown in the art, but I could come in here and I could change these nose and mouth to a black. So let's go ahead and hide the art again. That is I'm going to stop zooming, I promise. So we'll go to 1 to 1. That is a deer that Matthew actually sent me the graphic because he wanted to see how I digitize this. So that is how I digitize it. Now, like I said, I'm going to go in and I'm going to clean up some of the jumps and the trims right around here, but I don't think that you guys need to sit around and watch me do that because it's kind of boring. And then I'll shoot it over to the machine and sew it out. So I hope that you guys learned something for everybody that's stuck through here with me and watched the whole thing. I hope it helps you out in some of your future projects. If you do have any questions, I am going to circle back through the comments here and I'll look and I'll do my best to answer all the questions. So if you have questions, you can drop them in the comment and I'll do my best to look at that. If you like what we're doing here, give our Facebook page, the Embroidery Nerd, a like. You can follow our YouTube channel, which is where we post some of our Instructables, and you can look at our website at theembroiderynerd.com. And those are the different ways that you can get a hold of us. I think we're starting a Discord channel too, so if you want to do chats in there, we're setting that up as well. If you have suggestions and or comments, or you want to see something in particular, a specific technique or type of digitizing technique or lesson that you would like to see, you can drop that in the comments as well. We're taking suggestions for something that we can give you guys some better content in the future. I really hope that Jerry Lee is back to doing Monday nights, and so we'll keep an eye out for her next lesson that she's going to do. And as always, everybody, thank you again for your time and your effort, and post what you're doing, because we love to see it. Thank you, and have a great night.